What's going on, guys? Billy here, and much like every new DJI drone release, there are multiple packages and multiple versions of the Mavic 3 available. And if you're somebody that's looking to purchase this drone, you might be wondering what the title of this video is. Do you really need the Mavic 3 Cine? So the different packages range from the drone itself that retails for $29.99, the Fly More combo that retails for $29.99, and then you have the top tier Cine bundle that retails for $49.99, which is an extra $2,000 more than the Fly More combo. If you look at the product layout photos side by side of these two bundles, then you would think that they are relatively the same drone and package, but there are some pretty big differences that attribute to this massive price difference in regards to the drone itself and the accessories that it comes with. For example, the Cine bundle comes with the upgraded RC Pro that has a more premium feel, optimizes your transmission, and of course has a bright built-in screen. The Fly More combo instead just comes with a stock remote controller that we've seen before with all of DJI's current drones that make up their lineup, so the Mini 2, the Air 2, and the Air 2S. There's also an extra set of ND filters, so you get another case with a ND64, 128, 256, and 512 filter, opposed to just the ND4, 16, 32, and 64. Now, the final additional accessory that comes in the Cine bundle that isn't available in the Fly More combo is this braided USB-C cable that is capable of 10 gigabit per second transfer speeds, which is really important for getting these massive files off of your Mavic 3 Cine, but we'll touch more on this shortly. Aside from those three extra accessories, the Fly More combo and Cine combo both come with 2 extra batteries, a charging hub, a really high quality convertible bag, extra propellers, ND filters, and everything that comes with the standard kit like a 65-watt USB-C charger, the drone gimbal cover, and extra sticks for your remote controller. So the extra ND filters that come inside of the Cine bundle are kind of a wash in my opinion. I mean, you get ND64, 128, 256, and 512. I mean, I guess if you wanted to do some long exposure photography, these would work really well, but in terms of shooting video, I pretty much live with either the ND8 or ND16 filter, which I've got the ND8 filter on the front of my drone right now. Like, the ND8 filter is kind of for cloudy days, and the ND16 filter is for brighter sunny days. And from there, if I need to make any adjustments in my exposure, I just do so through the aperture because you have a lot more leeway when using a drone. But I could see that a full range of ND filters would be a lot more helpful if this was, say, a ground-based camera. But by far the biggest upgrade in terms of extra accessories that comes with the Cine bundle is the upgraded remote controller here, the RC Pro over the stock remote controller. Now, both of these remotes absolutely get the job done, and there actually might be some people out there that would prefer a smaller, more lightweight remote that is definitely more rugged because it doesn't have the built-in screen, but I think that a vast majority of people who are looking to buy this drone would prefer the all-in-one solution of the RC Pro. This gives you a dedicated device to fly your drone, eliminating notification spam and battery drain on your mobile device that you would otherwise have to plug into the stock remote controller to use to fly your drone. Now, like I showed in my review video of the Mavic 3, the RC Pro is really a second version of the now 3-year-old smart controller and introduces a lot of great upgrades. The build quality is top-notch, the remote is overall more lightweight, the sticks feel more fluid, the UI has been tweaked to create a better overall experience when using the device, and even though the screen remains at a constant brightness of 1000 nits, it is plenty bright to cut through the sunlight outside. Now, I should also mention in here that unlike the original smart controller, the new RC Pro gives you an enhanced transmission experience. Thank God. I remember one of my biggest issues with the smart controller is you actually had decreased range, and I felt that I'd experience more breakup than if I was using the stock controller, but not this go around. The RC Pro really is overall the best way to fly the Mavic 3. Now, that high-speed braided USB-C cable that comes included with the Cine bundle is really important because of the differences in the actual aircraft itself. So not only are there 2 different bundles that come with different sets of accessories, there are also 2 different aircraft that have very minor differences between them. So right here, we've got the Mavic 3 Cine version, and then I also picked up an extra Mavic 3 Fly More combo, sort of as like a backup for my business, just in case my Mavic 3 Cine goes down. And you'll notice that with the Fly More combo, it just says Mavic 3 on the arm here, but on the Cine version that comes in the Cine bundle, it has Cine written on the arm, sort of like in this gold text that is a nice throwback to the original Mavic Pro, that same color, which I think is a nice touch here. But You can't really call this like the Mavic 3 Pro and this the Mavic 3 Standard. The only differences between the two aircraft are that the Mavic 3 Cine can shoot ProRes 422 HQ video. It's got a much higher fidelity codec, and in order to write that codec at 3,760 megabits per second, you have a 1 terabyte built-in SSD inside of the drone. And in order to get all of that footage off of your drone, that's why you need the USB-C cable. But that H.264 and H.265 video still has a really high bitrate of 200 megabits per second, so you still are getting really good video out of those, I guess you could say, lower end codecs. But other than that, they are the only differences between the two drones. You've got the same flight time, the same maximum speed, the same propellers, the same camera, the same sensors. Everything between the Mavic 3 Cine and the Mavic 3 are exactly the same except for the codec, ProRes 422 HQ, as well as the 1 terabyte SSD built in. Now, I just touched on the different codecs available in both the Mavic 3 and Mavic 3 Cine, and we're going to take a second to nerd out a little bit here. So I took a bunch of test clips comparing the different codecs on the Mavic 3, and I'm here inside of the editing software that I primarily use, which is Final Cut Pro. Now, I captured 3 different clips in 6 different ways, so each clip was captured in the normal color profile and in the D-Log color profile, and then captured in the H.264, H.265, and the ProRes codecs. For the sake of this video, I'm just going to be using this clip here that I captured when hovering over this old abandoned factory. On the ProRes video file, I pushed it around pretty hard by completely changing the sky color, and there was very little breakdown in the image. It doesn't even really look like I edited it, it just looks like the sky is actually yellow, and even when I did slight exposure adjustments on the image, there really wasn't any breakdown or artifacting. Now, with all of the color information that is maintained in ProRes and that massive bitrate, you would expect that if I copied these same edits over to the other clips captured in the more compressed codecs, that the image quality wouldn't really hold up, but surprisingly, it does. When dragging across these 3 clips, I quite honestly can't tell a difference between the 3 codecs used. Like if I was blindfolded or if I mixed all of these clips around, I couldn't tell you which was captured in which codec. The same goes for the log footage that I quickly graded here. It's far different from the image straight out of the camera after I used a general D-Log LUT, along with some color and exposure correction. And much like the clips that were shot in the normal color profile, I was hard pressed to find a major difference in the 3 codecs. All of them handle the changes that I made quite well and would be perfectly adequate for my use, even when zooming into each of the images, no matter if it's shot in ProRes, H.264, H.265, or even if I'm using like D-Log or HLG or the normal color profile, none of them broke down as I zoomed in on the image. They looked pretty much similar between all of the edits that I made across the board. Now, I'm not going to torture you and make you sit here as I drag sliders through Final Cut Pro. Instead, I'm going to leave a download link in the description so that you can go ahead and download the sample clips that I shot in H.264, H.265, and ProRes 422 HQ so that you can bring them on your computer. You can try editing them. You can see if they work for your workflow. So yeah, you guys can go ahead and do that because I know it's easier than just listening to me talk about it. But there is another side of the argument, and that is like workflow, right? So how I can push it around in terms of editing in Final Cut Pro or Premiere Pro is like subjective. Depending on what you want to do with the footage, you might need ProRes, you might not need ProRes, but there's also professionals that demand a fully ProRes workflow, and if they use H.264 or H.265 files, they could then potentially bog down their computers. Now, look, personally, I've been editing on Mac since I first started shooting video and photos, and since I've been holding a camera, I've been using a Mac, and I've never had an issue editing. But I know that some people with their setup just can't edit H.265 footage. Like, it's just something that they can't do. So if you're a professional that demands a ProRes workflow, something that shoots ProRes 422 HQ, then you're gonna be in love with the Cine version, right? I mean, I've had some clients ask for ProRes videos specifically, and it's like, yeah, okay, I can do that. And it's great that now I don't have to lug around and Inspire, but instead I can just use the Mavic 3 Cine version. Now, speaking of like, you know, codecs and all that stuff, the file sizes when shooting in ProRes are massive. They're going to take up a lot of hard drive space. So again, we've got a 1 terabyte SSD inside, but once you finally dump that off onto your hard drive, this is the file sizes that you can expect from H.264, H.265, and ProRes video when we're talking about a 30-second block of video, so a 30-second clip. Now, the H.265 video, because it's more efficient, is going to be a smaller file size, and then you're going to have H.264 just a little bit over that H.265 codec, but the ProRes video is absolutely massive, coming in at over 5 gigs. Now that is going to take up a whole lot of room on your hard drives if you choose to shoot ProRes video, but chances are if you're going to buy the Cine version of the Mavic 3, you're a professional, and if you're a professional, you're probably used to working with ProRes video, so those larger file sizes really aren't going to bother you all that much. But the way that I kind of look at things is like DJI has been making such a good codec in terms of their H.264 and H.265 codecs for the longest time that they've almost shot themselves in the foot, because they've gotten so good that I would think that for the vast majority of people picking up a new drone, whether it's the Mavic 3, the Air 2S, or any of DJI's drones, that they're going to be able to get by just fine shooting in these compressed formats, these compressed codecs, rather than making the leap for ProRes video. As I've mentioned before in some previous videos, the Air 2S has been my absolute favorite drone for the past 6 months. It has been my workhorse, my go-to. I've shot everything from client photos and videos to personal photos and videos with that drone, and I've had absolutely no issue color grading that video, whether it's in the normal color profile, the D-Log color profile, whether I'm shooting in HLG. I mean, I've been able to get some really stunning looking video from that camera with a bitrate of only 120 megabits per second. So that means that with the Mavic 3, we have a significant bump in terms of the bitrate with the compressed codecs H.264 and H.265, being able to record 200 megabit per second video in both the Mavic 3 and the Mavic 3 Cine. Now, really quickly before we wrap this video up, I just want to insert one more piece of information about H.264 and H.265 versus ProRes video. My buddy Cameron actually just messaged me, shout out to him for doing it while I'm sitting here still shooting the video. So basically 264 and 265 are a lossy version of compression. So if you continue to export that video over and over and over again, you're going to see a degradation in quality compared to ProRes, which is a lossless version of media, lossless version of video. So if you continue to export that video, you're not going to lose any image quality. Again, it's another subtle difference that could be very important to somebody that is using this drone for professional video work. So to summarize everything with a quick comparison between the Fly More combo and the Cine bundle, the $2,000 extra spent on the highest end version will get you the RC Pro, a USB-C cable capable of fast transfer speeds, an extra set of ND filters, and inside of the drone is the 1TB SSD, which certainly isn't cheap, as well as the ability to shoot ProRes, which also comes with a license key that is required to use and costs DJI money. Now, the reason I bring up the license key is because most people probably wouldn't understand that that is an associated cost that DJI does have to absorb and then include in the price tag of the Mavic 3 Cine here. If you look at the Inspire 2, they actually sold like the Apple ProRes license key and the Cinema DNG license key separately, each of them individually costing $1,000. I think that you could bundle them together for like $1,500, but regardless, it was expensive. So now that it's included inside of the Mavic 3 Cine is definitely a plus, because again, it is being absorbed by DJI, and it's great. You don't have to go and purchase it separately, and it's not an added cost over the already $5,000 price tag of the Cine. So speaking of that price tag, let's give like my final verdict on the Mavic 3 in terms of like the different versions that they offer. So I think now more than ever, DJI's Mavic Pro, we'll call it, is now an actual professional level drone. Like, this is going to be probably what most professionals that demand high level aerial photography and videography are going to go and buy. But don't forget that the Air 2S is a dark horse. It is a drone that has, again, been my favorite for the past 6 months. I think that even if this drone didn't come out, I'd be happily flying that drone because of everything that it offers. So right now, the Air 2S is really, in my opinion, the go-to for the average person that wants to go and get like a higher level drone, because $2,200 to spend on just the Mavic 3 itself with no extra batteries, which, yeah, the flight time is good, but you really probably want like 2 or 3 total batteries. So yeah, spending $2,200 on a drone, I mean, that's getting into the level of like, you better be making money with your drone if you plan on spending that much money on a drone. But there is going to be a certain group of people that are hobbyists and they just fly for fun and they want the best of the best, so they go for the Mavic 3. But I think that most of those people will probably want to choose just between the Mavic 3 and the Fly More combo for all of the extra accessories, because the Cine version that I have here really is overkill for the average flyer. And I think that I would recommend the Mavic 3 Cine only to professionals that need to be able to shoot high-level video using Apple ProRes 422 HQ in its lossless codec. So with that, let me know what you guys think of the different versions of the Mavic 3 down in the comment section below. I'd love to hear what you have to say. And as always, I'll talk to you later. Peace.